The year is 09 AD, and the place is ancient Rome. A father enters the house of the famous Roman magician and sorcerer, Rudest. His daughter has recently been acting strangely, ignoring her household duties and unable to focus on her weaving. Now he suspects that she may have been cursed by one of her rivals, and she needs the help of a professional to break it. He's not alone. In the next room is a young man who believes that his rival has cursed him so that he'll never win at chariot racing. Across from him sits a soldier who thinks that a curse has made him impotent. And in another room is a jealous husband, convinced that his wife is cheating on him because of witchcraft. All of them have come to Rudest, hoping that he can use his skills to detect if they have been cursed and break the spell. For most Romans, magic was part of everyday life. They believed that their bad luck or misfortunes were the result of someone placing a curse on them. To protect themselves, they would turn to sorcerers like Figulus, who would then try to identify who placed the curse and break it. But how did they do this? Well, through the use of defixiones or curse tablets. Curse tablets are small pieces of wood or metal, usually inscribed with protective spells, which were buried under the doorstep of the home where the curse was detected. This practice was widespread across the Roman Empire, with over 7,000 curse tablets being found in Italy alone. While many contained protective spells and incantations, others served as a more direct form of revenge. These are the dark art of ancient Roman revenge tablets. Defixiones were used throughout the ancient world, with examples dating back to Greece in the 7th century BC. But it wasn't until the rise of the Roman Empire that these small pieces of inscribed wood or metal became such a popular way to detect curses. Back then, magic was thought to be everywhere, and people believed that witches and sorcerers could use spells to harm them in every aspect of their lives. Curses were seen as a way of taking revenge on someone, and people believed that those who practiced magic could even put a curse on someone without them knowing. This is why the use of defixiones was so popular. These small tablets would be placed inside a person's home, business, or workplace, and they were designed to detect if there was a curse present. If a curse was detected, the tablet would also include an inscription that would either break the curse or take away its power. The idea was that by burying the tablet under the threshold of the entrance, the curse would be drawn out and then taken away. But while some curse tablets acted as a way to protect against malevolent magic, others were a little more aggressive. Some people would write down a curse, but instead of trying to break one that was already cast, these spells were meant to place a new one. For example, one defixio we know of was written in the 1st century A.D. It writes, "By the great gods I bind you, Marcius Rufus, that you feel no pleasure either in your thighs or in your privy parts." This curse was meant to inflict pain on the victim and cause them suffering, often in the groin area. Other times, though, the curses were a bit more creative. One curse tablet from Pompeii reads, "May your nose run and your arse fall out." Hardly the nicest thing to say about someone. But even though curse tablets were popular, exactly what went on during their use isn't known. We don't know how many tablets were used, where they were placed, or what rituals, if any, were performed. However, what we do know is that the people casting the spells believed that the gods could hear them. Often the spells would invoke the major Roman gods, such as Jupiter or Minerva, or other deities associated with magic and curses, such as Bellona and the Dioscuri. The goal was to convince the gods that they needed to get involved and to help the caster carry out their will. Casting a curse was seen as a serious matter. Romans believed that cursing someone could have dire consequences not only for the victim, but also for the caster. If done incorrectly, the curse could come back and harm the person who cast it or their family. That's why those who carried out the ritual had to be careful and precise with their words. After all, you don't want to accidentally curse yourself. Another important part of casting a curse was making sure that the victim knew who was responsible. In many cases, the spells included the name of the person who was responsible for the curse, along with a description of what they did. This was done either so that the victim could seek revenge or so that other people would know to stay away from the person who cast the curse. So how exactly were these spells carried out? Well, first, the ingredients would need to be gathered. This might include things like a knife, a lock of the victim's hair, or even some of their bodily fluids. Once everything was in place, the spellcaster would start the ritual. This often involved making a small fire and placing the ingredients around it. The caster would then chant a spell, usually written in Latin, and they would call upon the gods to help them. Finally, the caster would bury the curse tablet under the doorstep of the victim's home. While we have some idea of how these spells were cast, we don't know much about their effectiveness. There's no record of anyone ever being cured of a curse, at least not in the way that we would expect. It's possible that the spells did work, but that the results weren't recorded. After all, if a curse was broken, there wouldn't be much reason to write it down. It's also possible that the spells didn't work at all, but that people still believed they did. One theory suggests that the reason for the popularity of these spells was that people needed an explanation for their misfortunes. When something bad happened, they could blame it on a curse and then try to do something to fix it. This gave people a sense of control over their lives and helped them make sense of the world around them. Another theory is that the spells were a way of dealing with social problems. In the Roman Empire, it was common for people to blame foreigners or slaves for their problems. Instead of facing the real source of their issues, they could curse someone who was easy to blame, such as a slave or someone of a different religion. There's also some evidence that the spells were sometimes used as a form of entertainment. Some historians believe that people would watch as the curse tablets were buried, and then wait to see what happened next. If the victim was cured, it was a source of amusement for everyone involved. Now, you're probably wondering just how effective these spells really were. Well, the truth is that we don't know for sure. There's no record of anyone ever being cured of a curse, at least not in the way that we would expect. It's possible that the spells did work, but that the results weren't recorded. After all, if a curse was broken, there wouldn't be much reason to write it down. It's also possible that the spells didn't work at all, but that people still believed they did. Regardless of whether or not the spells worked, they were definitely a popular form of entertainment in ancient Rome. People would gather around to watch as the curse tablets were buried, and then wait to see what happened next. If the victim was cured, it was a source of amusement for everyone involved. Despite the fact that these spells were popular, they were not without their critics. Some Roman philosophers, such as Pliny the Younger, spoke out against the practice of cursing. They believed that it was wrong to try to harm someone with magic, and that it was even worse to watch as someone else did it for fun. Despite these criticisms, however, the practice of cursing continued throughout the Roman Empire. These days, curse tablets are mostly seen as a curiosity from the ancient world. Most people don't believe that curses can be cast with a simple piece of wood or metal. But for the Romans, they were a very real and very dangerous part of everyday life. The threat of being cursed was always present, and people took great pains to protect themselves from the evil eye. Whether or not these spells actually worked doesn't really matter. What is important is that they gave people a sense of control over their lives in a world that often felt chaotic and unpredictable. So the next time you feel like something bad is about to happen to you, just remember, it could have been much worse. You could have been cursed by a Roman. That's all for this video, folks. Thanks for watching. And as always, stay curious.